They're back. The Empire. And this is no Spice Stream. Hello and welcome to Shows to Astonish. I am your host, the Fat Mantis, and today we were reviewing Season 2, Episode 6 of The Mandalorian. It's called The Tragedy, and it is directed by an amazing director, Robert Rodriguez. He knows his action. At least, you can say what you will about him, but he knows his action. And let me first off by saying, The Mandalorian is the show. It is the gift that keeps on giving. It almost seems like every episode is better than the next. We all know I had a problem with last week's. I didn't have a huge problem. I had kind of some issues. I didn't think it was perfect. But it just seems like every episode, at least there's payoff of either plot or action or something, and it's just a thrill, and I enjoy every minute of it. So let's get started on this. It starts off on a heartwarming sequence of events of the Mandalorian flying to Tython with his son, Baby Yoda, and they're having these father-son moments, and it's just beautiful. Now, it is clear the Mandalorian has always loved Baby Yoda, but he's a tough guy, so he's never let on, and he doesn't kind of reveal that part of himself. But finally, he's able to do it in this way, and he's literally talking about his emotion. He's saying what a good and special boy Baby Yoda is, and they're just having this really cute interaction that lasts for a couple of minutes, and I was really into it. I'm so glad, and I should have realized what it was foreshadowing. I should have. But moving on. So they finally get to Tython and they see the Seeing Stone, and they have like a cute moment where he puts Baby Yoda on there, but eventually, trying to figure it out, but finally Baby Yoda is able to start communing with the Force, and there's actually a visual energy flow flying off of Baby Yoda and a force field and all this cool stuff, and he's becoming one with the Force, and it's just this amazing mystical moment. And of course, who should interrupt them but Boba Fett flying down in his Slave One. Yeah, that's right, probably the second most famous starship in Star Wars lore. And we re-enter the canon, the Western tropes going on here, and I think I'm going to stop identifying them because they happen so often. But it gets to the point where he's having a talk with Boba Fett, and there's a hidden sniper out there who's targeting someone he loves or something he needs, right? Which is in this case Baby Yoda. It gets, it's pretty interesting. But the next part that really happens, that's really amazing, is when the dropships start coming. Dropships of waves of stormtroopers go, and the action starts, and it doesn't finish for the rest of the episode. They constantly keep coming out, and they have to shoot and fight their way out. And we get to see Boba Fett, of all people, showing his martial artist maneuvers while he's fighting with that Tusken Raider staff. And he's killing them. You can see sheer savagery in his eyes. And usually he's a big shooter. He usually uses guns and missiles and stuff. So this was fascinating to see. You can see he's just trained in every form of combat. And so, Ming-Na Wen returns, her Fennec Shand character. And this confirms something I've always been saying, that I knew that Boba Fett was the one who found her in the desert. I knew she'd be back, and I am so glad that she has been back. If you look on Twitter, Ming-Na Wen is always super supportive every time an episode drops of The Mandalorian. So it should have been a hint that she was going to still remain connected to the series, and I'm glad that she's there. She has some great action sequences. There's one in particular where she drops a boulder down. She's able to, a loose boulder, she's able to make it roll, and it's crushing stormtroopers along the way. And there is one guy that I was praying for. He was on the E-Web repeater, that's the mounted Gatling gun, and he's just firing at it, and he thinks that, it is a powerful weapon. He thinks he's going to be able to, carve it in two before it gets to him. And it looks like it's damaging it, and it's just rolling down, and I'm like, oh, please make it, please survive, please survive. And of course, he doesn't, and it flattens him. It was so amazing. My heart was pumping, and I was like, well, that makes sense. It was a really good time. And then, of course, it culminates in Boba Fett saving the day when he gets his Mandalorian armor back. And he's able to just Mando it up. And he out-Mandos the Mando. We actually finally get to see Boba Fett do something competently. Now, I don't know if you know, he is always considered an anomaly because he's a cool-looking Star Wars character who's never done anything significant in his life. Even his appearances in the Clone Wars was when he was a kid, and he was incompetent and failing all the time. It wasn't until he went to prison and hardened up that he could become a competent bounty hunter, and it was absolutely just an amazing thrill ride. And the episode finally ends up with the Dark Troopers descending, and Grand Moff Moff Gideon showing up. And Moff Gideon, it's just, this is just paying out. We've been waiting like a week or two, find out what these things are, and finally we get to see them. Dark Troopers come down, and they're able to snatch up Baby Yoda. It was a simultaneously horrible and tragic and makes you cry, but also super cute watching that robot carry the baby off as they fly off into the heavens. And then that brings us to the part where Boba Fett in his Slave One, he sees the Star Destroyer and he says, "They're back." And Fennec Shand is like, "Who's back?" He's like, "The Empire." She's like, "That's impossible." He's like, "This is no spice dream." It was a great moment in Star Wars. So they go back and he ends up teaming up with the Mandalorian and all this stuff. So this creates a very interesting thing going on here. So we've got two Mandalorians, pseudo-Mandalorians, and he shows his history of Mandalorian-ness. And so the show, as usual, it canonizes some things and decanonizes other concepts. There's constant arguments about the origins of his father, Jango Fett, and who he is in the universe. And this show seems to go with the origin I like. It confirms a comic book that came out right after Attack of the Clones, where it shows that Jango Fett fought in the Mandalorian Civil Wars under Jaster Morale, and he fought for the true Mandalorians, which explains why Boba Fett's armor always had it. It also nullifies certain belief that people thought that the armor Boba Fett rocked was not his father's, but was actually he just wanted to mimic his father, and he went stealing pieces of armor, and he had to patchwork it together. And he confirms in this one, no, this is my father's. And even here, my signature is ingrained in the computer programming within it. This is my father's armor. I should have it. And this is an interesting part where Mando lets him have the armor, and it once again creates another gray area as to what a Mandalorian is. As he travels through his adventures, Mando is learning that there are different definitions of Mandalorians. There are totally different ones. There are ones like Bo-Katan Kryze, which he has to let go. She's royalty, whether she follows the creed or not. And then there's this guy who it believes, only the Jedi Council knows that he's a clone, but he believes that his father was a Mandalorian and therefore, foundling and should inherit the armor. So it makes total sense, and he has to let that go. And he's slowly learning that maybe the creed isn't what defines a Mandalorian, and I think this is going to eventually lead to him feeling comfortable to take off his helmet in a couple of seasons, and I'm excited to finally see this transformation underway. And it's so interesting that, so we have a person who's a true Mandalorian, a descendant from a true Mandalorian, and someone who descends from Death Watch, working together, and they're boys now. It's fascinating. Like, they're the two most extreme opposite sides of Mandalorianness presented right there in one fun package. Can't wait to see them massacre more Imperials in the coming episodes. And so then finally we have Baby Yoda. And he's captured on the Star Destroyer, and he's using his Force powers to beat up and control stormtroopers. It was getting so rough with them, I thought he was going to start snapping their necks. But instead he's just making them clump together and stuff. And, Moff Gideon, being the dastardly evildoer that he does, he threatens a little baby with a lightsaber. Like, he puts it to his face, and he's like, he doesn't say it, but he's thinking, "I'm going to cut your face off if you're bad." It just shows how dreadfully evil this man is. I really enjoyed this episode. I'm going to give this episode a 90. I can't wait to see it all unfold. I think we've only got 2 episodes left, and that sounds like... Oh, and at the end, they're actually compiling other members of their crew. It's confirmed that Cara Dune, that thing she was given, deputizes her in the name of the Republic, which probably explains why the Republic is not doing so well, because they just go around deputizing anyone. They're like, "Hey kid, you want a badge? Here, take it. Go to work." That's probably why they can't control the Outer Rim. Right? They don't have a good hiring process. But anyway, what did you think of this episode? What am I missing? What do you think about the reveals of Jango Fett truly being a foundling and really fighting in the Mandalorian Civil Wars? I know that's going to cause controversy going on. And what do you think about the future of the Mandalorian? And also, who do you think Baby Yoda contacted on the Seeing Stone? Please let me know down in the comments. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. Remember to keep tuning in for Voice of the Fat Mantis for more reviews of The Mandalorian, other science fiction, more shenanigans, social commentary, and all the works. But until next time, ciao for now.